Hello and welcome to what I hope will be a full and not too complicated explanation of how your exam results will be calculated this year. So Ofqual, who oversee the results, are going to look at 4 different pieces of information. The first is going to be your teacher predictions. They'll predict everyone's grade in the subject for the year, and then crucially will put all those grades into a rank order. Well, what they've found is that teachers over-predict at GCSE and A-level when they're giving results to exam boards normally. So then they're going to ask for a second piece of information, which is how your school did in the last 3 years, looking at the progress that students made there. And then Ofqual will experiment to see which gives the fairer results. Is it looking at just 1 year of school progress, or 2 years, or 3 years? In order to decide how that should influence the teacher predicted grades. Next, the third bit of information they're going to look at for GCSEs is the Key Stage 2 results, the SATs results, that the current Year 11 students got when they were in Year 6. Now, they're not interested in what you individually got. They're just going to use those to predict what the year group should get. So how many grades 7s, 6s, 5s, and etc. they would reasonably expect your cohort of Year 11s to get based on how they did in Year 6. And if you're doing A-level, they'll do that with your GCSE results rather than your Key Stage 2 results. And then the fourth piece of information they'll look at is the national figure. So based on how everybody in Year 11 in the whole country did at Key Stage 2, what results might we reasonably expect? Now, this is nothing new. The government does this every single year, even when you do normal exams, because they can't allow exam results to improve by too much. That would lower standards, they say. And so they try and keep each year roughly the same as the year before. Now, the good news is that this year they've said, well, we know things are difficult, so we're actually going to increase the number of grade 7s and above by 2%. And we're going to increase the grades 4 and above by 1%. So students this year will actually do slightly better than last year, even with this new grading system. So let's look at how that might actually work in your school. Let's imagine there are 200 students taking, we'll say literature, English literature here, but it's the same for every subject. So your teachers will meet and they'll rank you based on your mock results probably, but then they'll take in everything else that you've done in school in your Year 10 and Year 11 to try and help them work out what you would have got in the actual exam, which after all is only ever a best guess. So they'll look at your assessments, your homework, any classwork that you've done. Your attitude to learning grade will tell them whether they think that you will have revised hard or not. They'll look at any coursework, and then your subject teams will get together and put all the results in, and then this is the really difficult part for them. Let's say there's 50 kids getting a grade 6. Well, they're going to have to put those 50 in order of likelihood of a grade 6, and so on for every other grade. So once the head of department is happy with everybody's input and a whole ranking is achieved, that whole ranking gets sent off to the exam board. So as you'll remember, those predictions will be too high because teachers normally over-predict about a third of students and they under-predict around about 16 to 20% of students. So let's imagine that your school submits all their grades from 9 down to you. Okay, and we're still dealing with one subject here. Let's say it's English literature. Let's put in some likely percentage grades. So maybe 1% U's, 1% 1s, 3% 2s, 10% 3s, 20% 4s, 25% 5s, let me think, 20% 6s, 10% 7s, 7% 8s, and 3% 9s. So then Ofqual will say, okay, well, how has your particular school done historically? Remember, they're going to check either 1 year, 2 years or 3 years, work out which of those is fairest. And they might come to different percentages based on what they find. So I've put in some sample percentages here, which you can see are slightly lower than your school predictions, which is what's likely to be the case. So this will mean they'll adjust your grades for the whole cohort slightly down, but they would still keep the ranking. So although your grade might move down by a grade on that adjustment, the person above you in the ranking would stay where they were and the person below you would stay there where they were. So the ranking that schools gives will stay the same all the way through, and it's just where the grade boundaries will fall along that ranking that will change. And then a third adjustment will happen. They'll look at the SATs results for your cohort. Remember, not you individually, but everyone in your year group who took the subject. And those SATs results already predict how you will do as a cohort in the exams. That happens every year already. It's what your target grades are based on in school. So there will be another adjustment from that. Now, what Ofqual haven't decided is how much the adjustment will be for your school's impact and how much the adjustment will be for your cohort's SATs impact, and if you're doing A-level, for the GCSE impact. But they'll decide on what they consider is a fair method to reach a compromise. So this will influence your results either slightly up or slightly down. Now, what the government have said is they reckon that that will probably change 50% of the predicted grades. Then the final check will be on the national picture. So they'll add all the schools up together and say, well, about 20% of students got 7+ last year, and we're going to increase that to 22% this year, and about 75% got grade 4 and above last year, and we're going to increase that to 76% this year. Okay, well, fine, Mr. Salles, thanks for that explanation, but what does that mean for me? Okay, well, let me repeat. It means that 50% of your predictions will be correct, but also about 50% will change. But they're not going to change dramatically. They're probably just going to go up 1 grade or down 1 grade from what your teachers predict. Now, you can probably work out what the prediction will be by looking at your mocks and adding on a grade, because that's basically what most schools will end up predicting for you. So you will know from that whether you're likely to have to take an exam in the autumn or whether the grade that you eventually get will be okay. And of course, most of you will only need the grade 4 to get onto your next steps at GCSE. It's different at A-level. So you're in a position now to think, well, what's the likelihood of me needing to take an exam in the autumn? And for 75% of you, it really means that you can knuckle down and get prepared for next year. This time is actually a gift because you don't have to spend 5 hours a day doing that preparation. You can do 2 or 2.5, or if you're amazing, 3, and really nail next year's grades and performance. So hopefully you can see that your exam result will actually take care of itself. You'll only need to retake if you're in real danger of not getting the grade you need for your next steps, or personal pride, in which case, yes, take the exam again. And in my next video, I will be answering lots of questions that you guys send in to hopefully allay any other fears. But I keep giving you the same message that even though this looks like a mess, it really isn't. It's going to give everybody pretty decent exam results if you have already worked reasonably well at school. And if you haven't worked really well at school, you've still got this chance to prove yourself and get those great grades in the autumn. Get cracking. See you soon on my channel.